This is how to sell real estate. Before we start, this episode is presented by Homes.com. Homes.com is built to put agents first, giving you more visibility, more control, and more opportunities to connect with serious clients. Use the link in the show notes to schedule a quick demo and receive a $50 gift card. Now back to the episode. Welcome to the show, Bob. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, Omar. How about yourself?
I'm doing amazing. I appreciate you joining me today for this follow-up episode of How to Sell Real Estate. You have a lot of experience, and I think a lot of agents, seasoned agents, new agents are going to get a lot of value from it. For those who don't know you, can you introduce yourself?
I sure can. My name is Bob Ridgeway. I'm a Ventura native, born in 1955, so I've been on this planet quite a while now. I've been doing real estate for about 36 years. Started off with Century 21 way back in 1990, and worked my way here to Keller Williams back in 2016. It's been a great ride and have had a lot of great experiences with a lot of people in our industry. I became the broker manager of Keller Williams back in 2020, and right after COVID had finished up. So that was a new chapter in my life to do that. As you know, I partner with Doug Moe. He's our broker of record here at the company, and then I help out with managing as well as doing my own personal production. But I try not to compete with our own agents. I try to make sure that they're taken care of, and if they ever have a dispute or anything with their clients or with a transaction where they're having issues, I try to step in and walk them through any thing that would help them out with getting their transaction done.
Well, in my experience, you're very knowledgeable, and I know agents come to you, for a lot of different reasons. But before we get into what actually your current role is, can you just tell us a little bit about what got you into real estate in the first place?
Well, it's kind of an interesting story. I originally started out as an engineer designing circuit boards for a medical products firm back in 2000 or no 1981, I think it was. Got married at that time, but during that time, I met a few people that helped me with the engineering part of it to where I got more into design stages and everything outside of the circuit board design. During that time, my wife decided she wanted to go back to school. So we sold everything, packed everything up, moved to Culver City, and she went to USC. And during that time, because of my motorcycle background, I ended up working for a company, motorcycle dealership in the Valley, San Fernando Valley in Woodland Hills. And one of my best clients happened to be a property manager. Well, he talked me into getting out of the motorcycle industry and working for him in the property management field. And at that point, I got my real estate license. And my wife, Gwen, got done with her schooling at that time, and we moved back up to Ventura, where we were from. At that point, because of all of the information or all of the history, I should say, I have with the city, and my family was fairly high profile to begin with, I was able to start my career in real estate. And then at that point, everything kind of fell into place, not only because a lot of people knew who my family was and who I was, but then I had a really good, solid background with training with what that company at that time was offering. And so that's kind of how I thrived, was from the initial stuff that I learned with the gentleman that got me started in the property management, that then turned it over into residential resales, and that's where I am now.
Haven't turned back since.
Haven't looked back since. Nope. Nope.
Well, I'm glad you were able to have such a smooth transition into real estate, but I know there's other agents who maybe, had have a little bit more of a struggle getting into real
Mhm.
estate. Looking back on your 30 years of experience, what kind of, advice, can you give people that, would help them kind of make a smoother transition or kind of keep going into production?
Well, I think the biggest thing that was good for me, and I think works for just about anybody, is that don't be a secret agent. Make sure everybody in your sphere of influence, everybody you meet, knows that you're a realtor and that you don't have to say that you're new in the industry. That I think kind of makes you kind of crawl back into your little shell. You got to
Right.
get out of your shell and make sure everybody knows that this is what you do. One of the biggest things that I did was that back in the day, I can't fit into them anymore. Let me put it that way. I had shirts and so forth that had my logo on it. It had my name on it. I would wear, like yourself, I would wear a name tag that had my phone number on it, or at least how to contact me. And that was something. I mean, I would be in the line at a checkout counter at the grocery store, and somebody would see my shirt and it'd say, "Oh, you're in real estate." That was the perfect opening for me to open up a conversation with them. Uh, that also sometimes, because back in the day we did shopping cart ads where we
Mhm.
put our pictures, our team pictures, between my team at the time, and it would be in that shopping cart, and I would be pushing that shopping cart around at the store with my picture on the front. It
That's
was so
cool.
great because a little girl, I remember one time a little girl was walking with her mommy and says, "Look, mommy, it's the guy on the cart." so
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 you were
that
famous.
was something, and that's still available for people out there if they ever have the
Yeah.
ability to expose their self, as far as the business is concerned. Shopping carts are a great way to go. You'd be
Yeah.
surprised how many people remember you because of that. And it's not cheap, but then again, it's not that expensive, especially if you want to get the momentum going on the industry.
Yeah, and you definitely want to stand out, and there's different ways that you can do that. I mean, agents now
Mhm.
obviously have access to a lot of technology and a lot of things, but also the traditional methods of marketing, like you mentioned, definitely still work.
Yeah,
You
exactly, exactly.
you said that you had your team picture on there. Did you join a team or did you create a team?
Now, yeah, I created a team. Let me go back to a brief history on that without, getting everybody bored in this. But a lady that I knew that was in real estate, we happened to do jury duty together back in 1999. And we developed a conversation over the time saying, hey, it would be really great if we just kind of merged together as a team. Tina Comden, who you know, was
Yeah.
also working for her as an assistant at that time. And so the three of us got together. We decided to start what was called the Fairchild and Ridgeway Group. This was at Remax when we were there. And from that point, we started bringing other agents into our team. I was the managing agent of the group. Judy was kind of our hood ornament. She was out with the people, doing the social stuff and everything. And then I kind of ran the back room of it, but still did my own production. And then once we brought the other agents on, we really we benefited from them, but they also benefited from us, from our knowledge and from what Judy was able to bring to the table. We were able to help out these new agents and get them established, and some of them have flourished, and I know a couple of them, they've gone off on their own and they've done extremely well with it. My daughter was one of them. She ended up being our market center administrator eventually, so she got into the industry and did extremely well with it going forward.
Wow, that must be very rewarding seeing,
Yeah.
everyone kind of fly the nest and, develop into their own, successful agents, whether they have a team or solo agents.
Yeah. Well, whenever a couple of the individuals, whenever I run into them out in the field and it's one of their listings, I go, I'm the reason you have this listing. We have a little chuckle about it, but that's, teams. Yeah, I mean, there are some teams that you'll see that, uh, in fact, I think this goes across the board. A lot of the newer agents that jump into a team eventually decide they want to break away and do their own business, and
Yeah.
that's fine. I mean, we're as team managers like Judy and I were. we expect that. We know it's going to happen. But for the new agents that are coming in, it's great knowledge because number one, you're around people that are producing all of the time.
Right.
And that is going to give them a much better direction and understanding what to
Hmm.
do and get their business started. And once they start to flourish, then it's kind of like, letting the little bird out of the nest.
Yeah.
They're out there doing their own little flying then. There are some teams that I see that, people stay with them for a long time. Uh, and that's fine. I mean, if that's the way they want to conduct their business and rely on their rainmaker, who was Judy was our rainmaker. She was the one that brought in a lot of the business, and then I was kind of like the cloud that would kind of spit on it once in a while with a little bit of rain coming in.
Yeah.
But and as you know, Tina, we've done extremely well with just staying with as a small partnership, and because both of us have the knowledge that we learned when Judy was with us, and also the other agents, and I don't discourage anybody, especially new agents, from trying to get onto a good team and working it from there. I've also want to kind of do a side note on that. It's okay to start your own team, even if you're new. If you've got two or three agents that are coming in and they're work together, that also works. I've seen a couple of small groups that really kind of got started right at the very beginning of their career, and they've turned it into a very good, lucrative business with the group on that.
I think in order for that dynamic to work, it has to be complementary. You know,
Yes,
you have to somehow have a strength where someone else has a weakness, or
right.
just help each other out. At least that's what I've noticed, with teams that are functioning still, is that
Mhm.
this guy's good at something and maybe this girl's good at something else, and together they're more of a powerhouse than
Yeah,
just, having the same voice and the same brain.
that's
You know.
correct, 100%.
Now, in your 30 years experience, I imagine you've been through a few different real estate cycles. What
Mhm.
is your take on the current one that we're in right now? What is your insight looking back on what you've seen and what you're seeing right now in the market?
I'm glad you brought this up, Omar. The fact of the matter is that we're going through a cycle that I've been through in 37 years, 36 years. I've been through it three times. When I first got into the business in the early 1990s, it was a struggling industry at that point. There weren't a lot of sales going on. There wasn't that much interest rates, had been at that time were up around 10%, 10, 12%, which everybody thought was normal because back in the early 80s, it was as high as 20%, 18, 19, 20%. Now, then we would have a good little run up until about 1998, something like that. And then it flattened out. 9/11 didn't help. It kind of hurt the overall economy and slowed things down. And then we had the next surge, which was, oh gosh, up until what, 96, or excuse me, 2006, when the all of the more and that got it set up for the mortgage meltdown. And that was a huge hit. And I was stuck in the middle of that. I got affected by it. Many of us did, but I persevered because I focused on helping out clients, even though they were short sales and that sort of thing, and some foreclosures. But I had to retool my business on how I move forward with that. We got very successful at it, and fortunately, our industry, after a couple of the administrations, helped with financing and getting things all back into play again. Then we had a nice little run again up until the probably the late 20 teens, around 2018 or so. Things picked up and did well. And then we had a little bit of a flat part just when COVID started to hit. But then, as you know, right after COVID, we had a big spike in the industry.
Yeah,
People were, as soon as you'd put something on the market, it would sell for over list
yeah.
price. I mean, it was crazy. And
Fun
now we're
times.
going back into that little slowdown cycle again. Um, what I can say here is that don't get discouraged by it. There's always opportunities that are out there if you keep looking. And sometimes you have to invent something. And many people have been successful with the way that they interpret what's going on and to help their clients out. You'd be surprised how many people still understand that real estate is cyclic. They're still going to go through and have the highs and the lows. But as long as you're comfortable with yourself and your presentation, you're going to do well.
And, kind of adding a little bit to what you just mentioned about don't get discouraged. I think I want to acknowledge that the real estate market right now is tough, but
Mhm.
there's still plenty of business out there. I think you have to kind of nurture that abundance mindset and just be willing to put in the work
Yeah.
because it makes me think of somebody in our office right now that their team has gotten, I think, 8 or 9 listings in the last
Mhm.
2 or 3 weeks.
Mhm.
And for her, I mean, it's all because of the follow up. I mean, she's told me that some of those leads she's been working since 2005, since
Right.
2012. I mean, that's what it takes. You got to put in the work, you got to have the systems in place, and sometimes they might not even hit, for 20 years, 15 years. But
Mhm.
then again, not everybody maybe has that persistence or that perseverance, but in order to be successful, sometimes you have to do those things. Keep feeding your pipeline,
Yeah.
keep following it up, because this way, when the market shifts on you, you still have enough business coming your way because of the work you've put in before.
Yeah. I've got a classic example of that going on right now. I've got an old friend of mine. I've sold him my house a long time ago. Well, long time ago, about 20, no, 18 years ago. I sold him the house he's in. And we've stayed in contact just by occasional phone call and that sort of thing. I've also got him on a mail drip uh, program, with little postcards that go to him. He gets a magazine from me. And of course, many of you that are on this uh, 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 Zoom right now don't have the ability to do a magazine, to do a postcard right now. I can now because of everything that I've established. But by keeping in contact with him, I get a phone call. Hey, we're going to move. I need you to sell our house. And that is because I've kept in contact with them either by phone call or by, some
Right.
type of drip campaign, email, whatever it takes. Emails are free. So if you can do something like that, that's a great way to keep people engaged with you, whether it's once a week, once a month, whatever. But it keeps reminding them who you are, and that's something I really want to stress with you.
Yeah, and you definitely want to be top of mind. I think for newer agents or maybe agents who don't have that much experience, I think it's easy to get discouraged when maybe you have a lead and you have a couple of follow-ups, and then by like,
Mhm.
I don't know, the eighth or 10th touch point, you're not getting any traction, and most
Right.
people just give up. But they're not aware that based on some of the research that's out there, it takes 33 touch points to convert
Mhm.
a lead. And so if you're giving up at 10 or 11, like you're not even halfway there. You got to follow it up, phone
Yeah.
call, email, I don't know, text message, all
Yeah.
those things, because you got to, at a minimum, hit those 33 touch points. And it sounds like you and maybe these other agents that are doing well right now, they're probably at
Mhm.
touch point 50, 60, 70, 80, because
Yeah.
you have to keep nurturing and taking care of that lead. So when the opportunity presents itself, you are top of mind.
Yeah. I back that theory up 100%. That's something that I learned early on that I had to keep doing. Back in the day, we didn't have social media. We didn't have a lot of the things that are available to us on the internet because the internet technically didn't exist. It
Yeah.
slowly came in the 90s, but it didn't start flourishing until the iPhone, I guess, which was 2006, 2008, whenever the iPhone first came out. So it's been a kind of a whirlwind here. And for those of you that are brand new in the industry, you couldn't get into the industry at a better time because of all of the tools that are at your disposal. I never had any of this. And Omar, I shared with you on a group chat that I had earlier today where we talked about AI and how Chat GPT
Yeah.
is absolutely flooring me. I mean, I'm 70 years old and I look at this and I go, gosh, if I had this when I first started,
Yeah.
number one, I'd go crazy with it because I love the way that thing works. And here I am 70 years old and I'm figuring the stupid thing out. And it,
Yeah.
and it works and it makes things so much easier for me that I can, instead of sitting there trying to come up with a description on a property, I'm able for that little tool to come up with it for me after I've made a couple of little adjustments and I'm done. I can move on to the next project. I don't have
Yeah.
to sit there and wallow in it for 2 or 3 days and then have Tina look at it or have my wife look at it and they criticize it or do whatever. I don't have to worry about that anymore.
I think agents who are not using some sort of like, a large language model or AI, as it's
Mhm.
commonly referred to increase their workflow or increase to grow their business, they're going to
Mhm.
be left in the dust. It's not going to replace agents, but it definitely allows you to be more efficient and speed things up. And so you have to work it into your business some way, somehow.
Correct.
Uh,
Correct.
and and you're saying that if you had access to this back in the day, I mean, geez, man, I would imagine you'd be taking more vacations and
Oh
maybe,
yeah, I'd be sitting on the beach in Greenland right now.
yeah, yeah, we'd be having this conversation with you sipping a Mai Tai, huh? So what is your view on the difference between a top producing agent and an agent that's struggling to get business? Like what is the difference there? What is one doing different than the other that is
I
not
can
working
I
for the
can
other
tell you
person?
exactly what it is, and this is from experience because I've mentored several agents over the years here at KW. That the biggest thing I see is that they're they're spending too much time getting ready to get ready. And what I mean by that is that they're trying to come up with all of these different little systems that would work. And in reality, if you went out and you talk to the people directly, talk to your friends, do the stuff that's free. Get out there, emails, conversations, anything like that. Make sure they know you're in the business. If you're taking all of this time to get, okay, I want to get this program set up for me, I want to get this program set up for me, and then they go, okay, what do I do next? And there's nobody that's out there that knows that you're ready to sell real estate, that you're ready to get people out and into the marketplace. That has been consistent for the last 35 years for me, 36 years, is that that's what I see with some people that get in and then they kind of crawl, I said earlier, crawling back into your shell. Get out of your shell. You've got to be that person and not be an annoyance to them. You want it to come across sincerely, but that you're there to help and get the business going.
So stop spending so much time on Instagram and start making some phone calls.
Yeah, yeah. Don't pick up your phone here and do all of the TikTok videos, and sit there and think, oh, okay, I can do that. No, get out
Well,
there and talk to people
yeah.
face to
And
face. One of the things too, and this is something that it's a little bit off topic, but what I've always said, and I know you've heard this too, is that if you have a dispute with somebody or if you have something you need to do, don't send them a text, don't send them an email,
right.
pick the stupid phone up and call them.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed how much better communication you have if you pick the phone up and make that call or see them in person. If you need to go meet somebody about a house, or maybe a friend of yours said something about, yeah, I'm kind of interested in that house. Pick the phone up then. Don't send them a text or an email. Talk to them.
And
You'd
and
be
and
surprised how much better that works.
oh, Bob, I agree so much with you because I get it that it's easier. And I actually had a listing, that recently went to another agent because I failed to do that. I was
Mhm.
talking to the husband. The husband, so impressed with our previous transaction, fully on board. And I had talked to the wife over the phone And at the end of the day, I was not able to convince her, even though the husband was backing me
Mhm.
110%. And I realized looking back on it was because I failed to make that connection, that personal connection that I had with the husband, and the
Mhm.
listing went somewhere else. And it's all
Right.
because I didn't take the extra time to go out there and sit down with him and, kind of close the deal. So I agree. You
Yeah.
have to, we're in the people business and you have to keep that in mind. You have
Yeah.
to be personal and you can't just do that with a text message.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. 100%. So,
So you've
hey,
been through several different brokerages. Tell me just a quick little like what your take is on like the importance of culture in a brokerage that
mhm.
allows agents to thrive or do well.
Well, just and again, I've only been at three brokerages in my long career, which is unusual in our industry. Usually, agents will sometimes they'll jump from office to office after a couple of years, thinking
Hmm.
that there's more gold or a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and you come to find out, yeah, it's not any better, or sometimes it's worse than where you were.
Right, right.
I came from with Century 21 back in the early 90s. They had a kind of a similar philosophy like we have here at Keller. They had a really good, strong training program for new and experienced agents, where we would go down. We actually would go down to Calabasas. They had a facility down there in Calabasas that we would go to. And Harold Dyke was the gentleman's name. He was the best instructor in real estate I've ever run into, even from that day to today. And if he was still with us, alive with us, because I know he passed away several years ago, he would be absolutely astonished with the marketing tools that are available to us today than what we had back in the early 90s. But I learned from that culture, it was more, we were more kind of like a family, where you ended up sharing individual information. Of course, back then we had, our office was one big room with a bunch of partitions up, and we'd have, which I'd love to see here. I'd love to see more people in our Oxnard facility than what we currently have. But almost every desk had an agent sitting at it during the day because they were up doing their cold calls or doing their warm calls or working through an escrow, that kind of thing. And so you would get information not only from hearing some of the things that they're saying, but you would be able to walk over and talk to an agent and get some background on it. That was the nice part about C21 back in the day, where you became a family and everybody was there to support you and get you through it. I then went, after what, 15 years with C21, I went to Remax, and that changed dramatically. I was lured there by a good friend because he was the owner broker, but I was lured there because of quote unquote, I was going to make more money. Well, at the end of the day, because of rent, because of advertising costs and all of this other stuff, it cost me just as much, if not more, to be in that type of a environment. And we were all locked in these little offices that had, some of them had no windows, and you felt like you were in a prison.
Oh
And
man,
there was no interaction with anybody. Yeah, I
I
mean,
see.
occasionally you could hear somebody down the hall because we'd leave our doors open. And so you'd get up and go and say, "Oh, hey, what happened with that? Can you share with me?" That kind of thing. But I lost a lot of communication within our agencies there. Keller Williams is just going back to the good stuff again. We've learned so much more. We're such a cohesive family, if you will, that is we learn stuff from each other. We're able to utilize the classroom we've got here. I mean, come on, guys. There's no office in the world that has a classroom like this. I guarantee it. This is the best facility by far of learning, and with all of the different things that Keller Williams has on the table for us, including having yourself as our team leader to be there and to nurture the people that are coming in and to support those that are longtime agents. This is the place to be.
Thank you for you kind of gave us a big range of
Yeah.
how you started in one place, you were there for a long time, and you were lured to, like you mentioned, by a close friend, but also
Mhm.
the promise of making more money.
Mhm.
And I'm sure it still happens to this day. People leave
Yeah.
because they think the grass is greener on the other
Yeah.
side, and especially now with all the changes in the way the brokerage is, the business model with the brokerages, there's a
Mhm.
lot of attrition rate, at offices. But I also think that for some people, that makes sense. I
Yeah.
personally do not want to work from home. I enjoy coming to the office. I enjoy being around other people. And I think if you're a new agent, new to the business, it helps to be around other people that are experienced, that are willing to share with you, that are willing to give you feedback. And so I think
Mhm.
working with the traditional brick and mortar, brokerages might be a huge advantage to you, to at least you feel comfortable in being
Mhm.
able to kind of, fly the nest, as you had
Yeah.
mentioned earlier.
Yeah. So.
So what is one lesson that you can leave us with? Like in your looking back on your 30 years of experience, what's one lesson that, and I'm sure you have many, but if
Mhm.
you had to pick like one, what is one lesson that a newer agent or an agent who's maybe been in the business for a while, but their production has slowed down? What is
Mhm.
a lesson that you can give them so that they can keep going and get back on solid footing?
I think on a personal level, I think becoming humble. When I was a partnership with Judy and Tina and my daughter and some of the others that were part of it, I got a little, oh, how do I describe myself? I was a little bit too big. I I felt like I ruled the group and that sort of thing, and I came across as being a little too much in people's faces.
Mm.
I got told that by Tina, that and Judy too. Actually, they both said, "Hey, you need to chill." so
Oh, good.
so so what I've learned is that, okay, the business, you're no bigger than the business. You
Okay.
can't, the business is going to overpower you if you come across as a, a pain in the rear end, that kind of thing. What you need to do is that you need to be cordial. You need, what I've learned so much over the last, I'd say 15 years, is that I've become more available. I'm more open. I listen. I'm learning every day. I don't care how long you've been in this business. You will learn something new every day. Every transaction does not go the same. Every single one of them has their own little hiccups, their own little faults, that you as a realtor, and the fact that you're there to either shield these problems away from your client and take care of them, or you make sure that everybody is aware that, okay, here's our issue, let's brainstorm and make this work. If you don't open yourself up like that, if you're too, like I said, crawling back into your shell or just being yourself, without being humbled and accept the fact that there's people that know something that maybe you don't, and learn from that. uh, Omar, you're a great example for me. I've loved listening to what you do and how you present yourself to not only our agents, but I listen in on when you're on the phone, and it's because I'm right next door to you here.
Yeah.
So I do hear the way you handle things, and I'm extremely impressed. And I take little bits and pieces away from every time I hear you talk. So, and I want to emphasize that with everybody on this call, that you want to open yourself up to listen to other people. Take criticism. I mean, if somebody criticizes you on something, don't
Yeah.
take offense to it,
Right.
learn from it. And
Yeah.
I think that's a huge thing. For me, that's been a huge thing.
Wow, that's really great advice, and I appreciate you saying that. One of the things that I constantly try to remind myself is that, I know that I don't know everything. And the minute you think you know everything, I feel like that's when all the problems are going to rise up. And
Yeah.
so thank you so much for all your insight. I know you have so many more lessons and stories to tell. We'll definitely have you back, but we'll leave it there for now. Thank you so much, Bob. I appreciate your
Okay.
time.
You're very welcome. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bob. If you're committed to real estate mastery, make sure you're subscribed to How to Sell Real Estate. This episode is presented by Homes.com. Homes.com is built to put agents first, giving you more visibility, more control, and more opportunities to connect with serious clients. Use the link in the show notes to schedule a quick demo and receive a $50 gift card. I'm your host, Omar Velasquez, and until next time, stay sharp.